Hey everyone, Justin here with Voices for Voices. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the show. We're over 410 episodes, just incredible here going into the second week in January of 2026. Thank you for being so loyal and watching and listening wherever you reside or wherever you are traveling to or from or in the middle of your travel. If you have layovers and multi-stop uh, travel on your itinerary, we owe it to you for having the demand for us to do the show that we're doing. And we love being able to bring new content to you, and all in the name of helping people and bringing people together. Uh, it's just an incredible feeling. Hope everybody's having a happy, healthy, safe, prosperous 2026 so far, whatever that means to you. Uh, and again, you don't have to be a believer to be a fan of this show. Just because we are, that doesn't mean you have to be. Uh, that said, we still pray for everybody across the whole world every night. So you can't get enough good vibes, is the way I look at it. Uh, So let's get started. So what we've seen an incredible activity uh, around governments and militaries all across the world, really, uh, since 2026, really got kicked off. Um, Even before that, and so uh, reason I bring that up is because sometimes military involvement and missions is due to politics. And if this is your first show tuning in, we choose culture and people and humans over politics and military usage. Uh, doesn't mean that topics won't come into shows here and there. It just means that we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on those topics because there's plenty of shows to do that already. And frankly, we're trying to look at the world in a positive light and helping people, even though some military missions could be argued are helping people, but we aren't looking at that. We're looking at things just from a uh, culture perspective, a human life, helping people survive and thrive. Uh, and we want to talk first here tonight as we're filming in the evening where we reside, and I want to talk about miracles. So some people may believe in miracles, some may not. I'll lay out the situation, and then you can, our viewers and listeners always decide. So we'll leave that. It's a little bit warm, so I'm gonna. There we go. Adjust uh, adjust my jacket here. And so with that, there are many different hobbies people have: playing sports, playing music, rock climbing, mountain climbing, skiing, and there are certain, if we're looking at, let's say from the mountain perspective, there are certain heights that we look at and go, okay, if somebody is going to embark on climbing, said mountain, that not only should they have somebody who is local to the area to help, just makes sense, right? If you're going into a situation that could be a life or death situation, you kind of want to have somebody who has had some experience in that. That's just my input there. And then there are other aspects of variables, such as the weather. The higher you go, the less oxygen for us to breathe. Uh, right. And then you're literally carrying all your things like as you're climbing. If we're talking about climbing mountains. And so it's an incredible amount of uh, physical stress on the body and emotional stress, mental health. Uh, you can prepare and prepare and prepare, and people still have perished, um, no matter how much preparation they have done. And so when I talk about miracles, the one I'm going to refer to as a miracle is uh, climbing Mount Everest is one of the tallest mountain ranges in the world. And so again, you want to make sure you're well versed, and there's different base camps where you go a little bit and then you rest, and then you go a little bit. Uh, and then depending on the weather, you may be stuck at a base camp, so that might put you back a day or two. And if you only brought food for a certain amount of days and your food runs out, there's not a whole lot you can do. I don't think. Uh, maybe and I'm not well versed in this. I'm going off of uh, a story that I came across. So maybe you're able to buy food if you run out, given weather and different conditions. So there's that. Then there's having the guide, somebody that is with you and with your group or with you individually. And then there's a thing called oxygen that we need. All our brains and bodies need oxygen in order to continue the functions that our body completes. And the higher you go in the atmosphere, uh, the less amount of oxygen there is. So let's just say there's 100% oxygen uh, at sea level. And let's say for every 10,000 feet up, oxygen goes down by 10%. I don't know this to be true. I'm throwing out this hypothetical because I know that oxygen, the higher you go, the lower the oxygen level is. And so when anybody is going on these climbing expeditions, one of the things that is recommended, from what I understand, doesn't mean I'm right. Uh, I've I've been wrong my fair share of times, is there is supplemental oxygen that can be brought with a person so that the higher and higher they go, they're able to supplement with oxygen to help get more oxygen basically into the body. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Now, I don't know how much is needed. I don't have the numbers, and that's not important. What's important is that the oxygen level, the oxygen availability, the higher we go in the atmosphere, uh, goes down and down and down. And so the higher you go, the less and less and less and less and less oxygen that's available in nature. So a lot of people, from my understanding, take supplemental oxygen with them. So as they get to certain points, they're able to basically replenish to an extent their oxygen levels. And so what's this have to do with mental health? Well, it has everything to do. Number one, it's, you want to stay alive. So that's one thing. We want to stay alive. Uh, because that's the whole point is we want to stay alive. We want to reach the summit and then we want to come down safely. All that safely. So having the guide, having enough food, having, the mental and emotional strength, the physical strength, the food, I think I mentioned that. The guide and the supplemental oxygen and then I think there might even be like certain vitamins that help ahead of time. Uh, that may even be during the trip because from what I understand, this isn't something you do in you don't do it in one day. You do it in more than one day. And so the story I came across was this person decided, and I don't know if let me just tell the story and then I'll tell you the part I don't know. So this person wanted to climb Mount Everest and ski down without any supplemental oxygen that I just talked about. So totally relying, from what I understand, 100% on the oxygen availability that is already built up in his body and what's available in nature as the climb up, reach the top. They only have a certain amount of time and then ski down, and then take breaks and have all that mapped out. The part that I don't know is if he had any supplemental oxygen if there were to be an emergency that was unfolding. If this guide who is helping him with this voyage, if there was supplemental oxygen, if there was an emergency, and again, we're talking about life and death decisions here. So I don't know if there was in case of that situation. So nonetheless, this person did it. They they set out to climb without extra oxygen and to ski all the way down Mount Everest without any supplemental oxygen. I don't know if there was, I don't know if there was some, uh, again, in case of your worst case scenario, uh, but he did it. And from what I understand, doesn't mean it's the end all be all, is this individual is the first individual who did that, who has done that. Because as I mentioned before, most people, if not all, you look at kind of like a packing list of like what you need, and so you do your shopping and then you prep and you're trying to get as ready as you get your body as ready as it can be. And again, there's a lot of people that have unfortunately passed away. Uh, and then there's avalanches. There's all kind of variables that a human can only prepare for. But no matter how much preparation a person does, doesn't mean that you won't encounter, or I wouldn't encounter something no matter how much I prepared. And so this is the story I came across. When I talk about miracles, we can use whatever word we want. And they say, well, that's not a miracle. That was just luck. I don't know what it was. I call it a miracle because, to my knowledge, it's never been done as far as not bringing supplemental oxygen, climbing all the way up, hitting the summit, the peak, and then skiing down. And so that's why I say, in my opinion, it seems like a miracle. If it's happened before, I haven't seen any other articles and any other news stories. Again, doesn't mean that they don't exist. I'm going on the information that I know, that I saw with my own eyes, and it was like it is like a documentary. So I was able to hear, and so there was some video recording equipment, which I'm assuming there were drones, or at least a drone that was capturing uh, on top of the cameras that were with the guide. When I say guide, I mean guide like Guide, not guy like Gui. Um, and so we got to look at these types of events, and there's a reason why it happened, and there must be reasons why other people, if they've tried it uh, before, I don't know if they passed away. I don't know if they had the supplemental, or they had planned like, oh, I'm just gonna get through it. And then maybe they reached a certain point and they're like, well, I don't know. And coming from me, somebody that's not uh, an avid climber, let alone a mountain climber, uh, I would be taking every single uh, whatever's on the packing list of things. I would be taking every single one of those. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I don't think I need this one. I don't think I need that one. That something like this is something that people, even with supplemental oxygen, pass away. Uh, so call it what you will. I call it a miracle. I call it an event that happened where, from all appearances, somebody defied the odds didn't mean that it was never, ever, 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 ever going to be possible for somebody to do this, to climb Everest with no supplemental oxygen and ski down. We can set out with a plan, we can set out with goals, whether as an individual or as an organization. And then we may at some point decide, okay, we need to adapt. Like this is this is a little bit more than what I had expected. And I'm just thinking that a lot of people had run into that second side where, this it's a little more what I expected. Everything or a lot of the things that I've read ahead of time, it's no joke. I mean, you're dealing with Mother Nature here, right? And Mother Nature teaches humans on a daily basis in different areas of the world that, she reigns kind of in one of the supreme kind of area. And so if you don't believe in God or a higher power, Mother Nature, if if an avalanche is going to come, if oxygen levels are going to get even lower than what was expected, because what I could see is, you get ranges, right? So I mean, think of the regular weather. No matter where you live or where I live, every day there is, well, here's what our high temperature is expected to be, and here's our low temperature, what it's expected to be. And then there's forecasts of, by the hour and that come up. And so those are ranges. And so I would think that when you're looking about climbing Mount Everest or climbing the hill in your backyard or a local park, there's going to be ranges of, well, once you get to this point, this is what you can expect. This is the high part of the range, here's the low part, and here's kind of the middle part of the range. And so there can always be deviations, right? Because then there not only is there what's expected to be the high and the low temperature, but what's the historical? What is the highest the temperature's ever been on this specific day? And what's the lowest it's ever been? And if your climate gets snow, here's the most snow, or here's the least, or here's the most rainfall, or the least, or the dew point. There's all these data points that you got to look at. And so I'm, thinking like mentally as well of at what point along a journey like that, climbing Mount Everest, does a person say, I need my supplemental oxygen, number one, and then what if you run out? So that's another option that you don't have really control over because until you're there, you don't really know. You can look at all kind of data and but until you're there or until I'm there, I'm not going there. Let me put it that. Let me just make sure I'm letting that be known. I'm not no way going to get near that. not in the shape that I'm in. Uh, Even at that, it, on the risk meter, the older I've gotten, the risk kind of has gotten a little bit lower, risk level. Uh, Start out with whatever a higher risk level, and then the older. That's just me. So this person did it. They set out to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen and to ski down after reaching the summit or the highest point in the mountain range. And that's so awesome. Uh, and that should be applauded. Uh, one of the things, one of the byproducts to come is maybe inspiring other people to go, hey, they did it, so maybe I can do it. I just hope there's no unnecessary people passing away because, like a video game. I'm like, oh, well, that's just a video game, so that's easy. I can do that. I can do what they did. Uh, but that's what I want to bring up. So emotionally and mental health wise, right? You got to be all in, and that's from people prepare a year or two out, and that's the other part is if you think that you're just gonna uh book a trip and leave in 3 days and do it, I doubt it. That's probably not gonna happen. So there's all kind of preparation that goes on, but from a mental side, you got to be all bought in. You know, be you got to be a believer in yourself because when you're up there climbing, there might be a guide that's there to help, and there might be a few other people with you that you've never met in your life. And and so you have to have incredible self-belief, inner strength, because when you're going to get to some hard decision points of what do I do? Do I just cash out at this point and just be happy I made it, whatever to whatever level, whatever height, uh, or do I continue? Like, what's it worth to me to keep going no matter what or not? And so that mental health part, gosh, I don't know. It's and it's not just that belief or that inner strength. You have to have that, and you have to be nourished and the conditions, and there's got to be so many variables that line up to even think about trying to continue on, whether you have supplemental oxygen or not. Again, there's been people who have passed away with supplemental oxygen. So just because you have it doesn't mean it's a for sure thing that you're going to be able to check that box. Doesn't mean that that's going to happen no matter what. It increases the odds. Uh, that's what made this person's voyage all the more, rare. It's never happened before, as far as I'm concerned. And from what I've read, and it's never been done before. And but yeah, that mental health, if there's mental illnesses, and how does that play into it? If there's medication, and right, you're carrying literally everything you need. And so if there's medication you're taking, you have to have water, to be able to to wash down the medicine. And so I don't know how, like, you got to plan for all that. Like, is that even possible? If you're talking about like a 1 week or 2 weeks, or I don't know what the time is. But again, it's not like like a weekend trip from what I understand to do it, even if you do complete it. And so, medication wise, if somebody is taking, even if it isn't mental illness, even if it's for something else that you're taking medication for, uh, uh, how's that factor in? Because we might think, oh, that's nothing, that's something minor. Well, is it? You got 3 weeks, so you got 3 weeks. Let's just call it 3 weeks, and you'll probably want to have some extras, right? Because what if there is an avalanche and you're caught for 3 or 4 extra days? Well, your decision's pretty much made up. If you're out of medication and it's something that you need and you don't have, the decision probably gets made for you, given that. So there's all kinds of different variables that play into everything on a daily basis, but especially, this trip that I saw, this documentary, I was really, I mean, just taken aback that everything kind of lined up with expectations. There were setbacks, continued on. Uh, I don't, again, I'm sure they spoke about what the preparation time was, getting ready. Uh, there was a consultation with different doctors, or different professionals in the field. Uh, I I would think that that would probably be a good idea if somebody was thinking about doing that, just in general, whether it's climbing Mount Everest, or uh, I don't know, running a marathon or walking a marathon. Again, you have to have the fluids, and you have to have the energy. And depending on what you're looking at, if you take medication or if you don't, it doesn't matter if you do or you don't. You just have to prepare, just like you prepare for other trips. You prepare for how many days you're gone, planning to be not gone, planning to be not home, and a few extra days, because I now know from my travels, uh, that I got stranded overnight without one of my medications. But then also, w w there are um, ones you take different times a day, and given when the stranding happened, you got to look at it and go, okay, well, I missed this flight, and I don't want to miss the next one. So, you're just doing planning on the fly. Uh, yeah, I usually travel pretty lightly, and I didn't have as many, snacks or food. So you're traveling, you're getting the highest prices known to a person. Yeah, and so that was part of it, and so that was something that I definitely now I've learned my lesson from that. And so that's just something, mental health or not, just going, hey, I'm going to need to eat dinner. Oh, I'm going to need to eat breakfast. And I got to do all this before security opens. Uh, anyways, so we hope you've had it's been another one of these upbeat stories for our show. Uh, just incredible. I'm sure you can find the story I'm referring to. Uh, if you can, subscribe. If you can reach out to, 25 of your friends, you can text them, send them a group chat. That'd be awesome. If you give us a thumbs up, like, share, follow, all that great stuff. We are one of the hottest podcasts on the planet, behind the Joe Rogan Experience, and now Dan Bongino's back. Uh, and it's all because of you. And we have nothing but love coming back to each and every one of you. And we look forward to coming back on another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. And until then, let's help get our reach. Let's help expand our reach from over 100 countries and provinces and territories across the world to 300, at least 300 countries, provinces, and territories across the world. And let's go from over 1,000 cities across the world to over 3,000 cities across the world. I know we can do it, and with your help, we can do it. So have a great day wherever you may be, and please be a voice for you or somebody in need. Bye bye. We'll see you on the next show.